And so you have a guest in studio. Let's jump right into it.
Yes, Mr. Michael Moore from CANIDAE is here. He represents the dog food. He's based out of Kansas?
Actually, our plant is our cookery anyway, where we cook the food is in Texas. We have a farm in Kansas, and our home office is in California. Oh yes, yeah. Me. Yes, okay. I live in Kansas City.
All right, and then but you were going through there, and I interrupted you just now. You said California. What's in California?
California is where it all started. That's where our two owners started in '96.
Yeah,
they worked at a feed store there in Southern California.
So we're going to get into dog food and all that kind of stuff, but I always find it interesting on how companies start. And in fact, there's, how dog food companies start. There's always a story behind it and all that kind of stuff. So so it's what, Scott Whipple and John Gordon,
yes,
out of California. Where in California?
It's
like
Southern California. Yeah, it's San Dimas Feed is actually the feed store that they had started at. And
okay, so they were just working there or something.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
So then what happened?
Working together, and there weren't any good foods, or at that time, a lot has changed in 22 years. But
so over 20 years ago,
a lot of Purina dog chows and those kind of foods that were, a lot of, we'll say corn based or whatever. And, they knew that there was a need for a better food for our pets.
Okay.
People love their pets like their kids. And so these guys developed something, and that's how CANIDAE started.
All right. And then I'm sure they got dogs, and that was part of the deal and all that kind of stuff.
True.
So,
yeah, that always amazes me how, pets have changed over the years. Back then, actually, pets lived in the backyard. Then they moved into the house, and now they sleep in our beds.
Yeah, in the beds. I've never made that third.
And we take them to the grocery store, right?
Exactly. Now, also, is one of them a racer of some kind?
That's true. Scott Whipple is, I'm not sure exactly what he does, but I
think he's into the drag strips and all that kind of stuff.
That's true.
I just noticed he'll sponsor other events like I do. I love watching motocross. And they sponsored a rider for a few years, and I was rooting for the rider because of it. I was like, "All right, a dog food's out there." That was really fun.
Good.
All right, so they made this food 20 years ago, and obviously over that 20 years, dog food has changed. So what did CANIDAE? What's their core foundation, and then how have they changed over the years?
Well, that's true. Back then in '96, they started with the all life stages formula, which is a grain diet. We have no corn, wheat, or soy in anything that we make. I don't know if you've seen that, when we eat corn, it comes right out. There's not a lot of nutritional value in corn. And so we've stayed away from that. And then we've gone towards grain-free diets. So that's definitely changed over the last few years. So we have a fair amount of those. We still have that all life stages because there's a need for that.
Right. And we've talked on the show a lot about grain is okay for dogs.
Correct. Correct.
And
the right grains.
Right. The right grains. But we also know there's different nutrition in the grains. So I always say nobody needs to bash grains or corn or anything like that. There is nutritional value and all that kind of stuff, but just not as much.
Right.
And so with especially those corn-based foods, you're just going to find you're going to have to feed a lot more of it in order for them to get the amount of nutrition. And then we get into, dogs are carnivores. They're opportunistic eaters. So they eat what's available. So are you.
Yeah.
Jerry, are you an opportunistic eater?
I usually eat what's available. Yes.
All right. And so how has CANIDAE then changed in that way? So they have that original formula, which is still available.
Correct.
And that's what they based everything on. But now that things are changing even more. So what's going on there?
Well, and yeah, exactly what you said. Our K calories are something that you look at, depending on what calories your particular dog or pet needs per day. We have very high K calories on all of our foods, which that's what's a good comparison to a higher quality food or most of the foods in your store as compared to, say, the grocery store
So knowing a little bit more about K calories. So yeah, it's just like us. We need calories in order to sustain ourselves, and then also the vitamins and nutritional values within there. So yours is more nutrients dense. They eat less of it. What is so I also hear though, what is the protein of the kilocalorie, what we're talking about, kcals? What is it? Is it plant-based? Is it meat-based? Is it?
In the majority of our diets, it's meat-based. You know,
and that's critical.
We do have it definitely is. I mean, that, and like I said, that's why it's higher, and you're going to be feeding, like you said, less, and your dog's going to be pooping less too. There'll be less in the backyard.
Right. And the protein values, even just talking with veterinarians and stuff.
I'd like to jump in here. He said poop, and that was
can I say that on the
yes,
radio?
you can. We have a rule going that I have to call out the time. So it was 5 minutes and 35 seconds before we talked about some type of poop or urine or.
Glad I could help.
There we go.
Carry on.
We do talk. Yeah.
I think the quickest was about three to 4 seconds. And
Yeah.
The longest.
I can't help myself.
Yeah, maybe 12 minutes.
I'm a kid at heart.
Glad I could help.
Carry on.
All right, so the kilogram is protein based, therefore, meat based. So that way they get all the extra stuff that comes along with it. They are here. We are meat based. That's why we can eat less. And isn't there something about our development, Jerry? You're all about biology and how we've developed and all that, right?
I think you're
okay. There we go.
You're 100% correct, Ron. Whatever you just said, you're 100% correct.
So, all right. So then I see you're turning. We're going to raw coated. So what the heck is this raw? You actually have raw meat in there?
This is a high meat diet. Actually, is the main thing. There's quite a few. This is our newest line, which you guys just recently received, and we've just started shipping.
So it's on the Petland, Iowa City shelves right now.
It is. And it's a high meat diet. And actually, you know, I didn't say that with the others, but we have the added probiotics and omega-3s and 6s and, you know, all that stuff that we add to our foods too.
Okay.
This particular diet is there's 6 to 7 meats in all of the foods. It's all wild or fresh caught. There's a lot of, different meat sources in there. Like say in the meat diet, we have goat and venison and bison and then our fish diet, you know, all these fish that are in here actually come from, say, Washington, Oregon, Alaska. You know, a lot of these meats are all U.S. also, for that matter.
Okay, that's cool.
So anyway, that's all done. The kibble's produced at our Texas facility in Brownwood, Texas. All that's sprayed on, and then after the cooking process, then we spray on this new freeze-dried raw coating.
Okay, so you're spraying it on there.
After it's cooked.
Okay, so a little bit about how I feed with my my own dogs. We have a kibble that we feed, high quality kibble, meat based, like what you've got, and then we do a freeze dried, and we just have it in a chunk. It's by Primal,
sure.
And we crumble it in there, and we've been talking again about that on our show here to say, hey, it adds some nutrients and things that get killed during a cooking process are preserved. And I saw freeze dried raw. That's what it's based on. And so that is sprayed on there. What I love about it is something that I've been doing manually. You're doing, hey, it's all on the kibble already. Don't even worry about adding another bag of this or that. What I've noticed with freeze dried raw products, whether it's fish, bison, venison, all the different things out there, my dog goes goofy crazy.
Mine too.
Over it. It's a whole nother level of interest in food that I didn't even know. I always say when I put that out there in the kibble, my dog looks up at me and smiles. It's just like, wow, you really do love it that much. And so I know what you're saying. That's, I think, real critical on getting that into the dog food. So the kibble is your meat based. That's the foundation of the food. Correct. And now you're putting
all meat first too, by the way. That's, you know, meat or fish first.
Right.
In all those diets. In fact, there's the ingredient panels of each one of those, and as you can see, the highlighted ones there are all the meats, and there's a lot of meat in there.
Right. And a little bit, hey, I'm noticing you've got meal products. Is that a good thing?
You know, that meals are a good thing. I mean, if there's too much meal, that's one thing. But as you know, or I assume you know, that you know,
I'm prompting you. I know the answer on this one, so I'm heading you in the right direction.
Yeah, when the meat is cooked, you know, when the water's taken out, it's gonna get you know, go further down in the list. So we add meals in there to strengthen that.
Okay. What I know about meal is okay. So if I see here on the red meat formula, I see lamb, goat, and then I see goat meal. What I love about seeing meal is that's telling me that's concentrated meat. So if here, I always say when you go to the burger joint and you get a 1/4 pounder, that 1/4 pound was weighed prior to cooking.
Correct.
If if you do it after cooking, you could call that a meal. You could call it a burger meal or whatever. Beef, I guess it would be beef meal. It is now cooked, but it is now 300% more concentrated than the original raw. And when something with meal on the end of it, whether it's bison or whatever, is really high in the ingredients list, that's really significant. It's not going to cook down and then all of a sudden be an insignificant ingredient in the bigger picture. So I think that's really important to see that meal, and don't shy away. That internet has made things so confusing about ingredients. I just want to point out meal is a good thing. Now, if it said byproduct meal, or if it said, you know, miscellaneous meat, you know, meal. Okay, yeah, there's some scariness on that. But in here, we're identifying it, chicken or lamb or salmon.
Correct.
Then you're into good stuff at that point.
Thanks for explaining that better.
So I've talked it a couple of times.
Well, hey. Well, and another part of the raw coated diet, which you guys have, you know, small breeds like this little guy over here, you know, are becoming more and more popular. So we also have a small breed, which is a smaller kibble, about half the size. And then these are actually limited ingredient diets. So explain again what now limited ingredients, that's a term. Yeah, definitely. And that's our other pure line, which you guys have that. But if your, you know, dog had an allergy, or you didn't like fish, or, you know, he didn't like it, then there's other options. Or I just picked fish as an example.
Do you guys recommend that you maybe go, hey, this week or this month buy salmon, next month buy chicken, like rotating it?
Definitely. Rotational diets are great. I mean, I do that too. And, you know, I don't eat the same thing every day. And you know, my dog appreciates that also. So yeah, no, it's good. And what's nice with this line is they're very similar in the ingredient panels, other than the meats. The proteins are different, but they're similar enough that rotating it's great. I mean, it's very easy to do.
Okay. And then I know a lot of people love the smaller kibbles. You know, they'll come into the store and say, you know, my dog won't even eat that bigger kibble.
Right.
Know that the bigger the kibble, the better it is for their hygiene of their teeth and the strength of their teeth and all that kind of stuff. With my own dogs, I did go to a bigger kibble, even though they're tiny little things. And what it ends up being is they're training you. If your dog, well, my dog won't eat the big kibble, it's because they've trained you. They'll go, I'm not going to eat until you give it to me, you know, kind of thing.
Just like kids.
Just like kids. And I found that if you just hold out for a meal or two, all of a sudden they go, okay, I'm hungry. Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm not going to eat my broccoli. And then, oh, you're going to go to bed hungry tonight. And then when they wake up in the morning, it's like 2 bowls of cereal instead of 1.
That's true.
So they'll load back up again. And
he's just full of good analogies.
I'm full of something. I don't know. All right. So we've got that.
Yes.
For small breeds, which is a huge market now. There's so many people with small breeds. The large breeds, I know individually, are still the dominant ones, but I think in numbers, small breeds outnumber.
I think it's close to 50-50 right now. They've come a long way, and I think you guys moving into apartments and stuff like that. You know, I think people are getting smaller pets, and
awesome. What else do you got going on here?
So anyway, we do have the limited ingredient diets, that full line too. And like you said, you know, for allergies, if you know that your dog is allergic to something, or you think he might be, then it's easier to narrow it down with the smaller ingredient diet.
Yeah, and limited ingredients means what? 1 protein source.
There's well, not necessarily that, but just smaller. This one's, all of ours is 7 to 10 key ingredients. So there's only those key ingredients in there.
Okay, so
there may be more than 1 protein.
Do you know the definition of limited ingredient?
I believe I don't know if it's AFCO or who the standard is, but it's less than 12.
Okay, so that is the definition. Like okay, so if you're looking for less of those words that you can't even pronounce, then look for a product with limited. It'll actually say down there, and know that. Yeah,
the only way we can say that, put it on the bag, is for that.
Yeah, so there's somebody in the background monitoring it and all that kind of stuff, and you have a limited ingredient diet.
But you're right. Some of those, again, the grocery store brands are, you know, there's there's a huge list. I mean, you don't even, like you said, can't pronounce or don't even know what they are.
Right. We always talk about on the in the grocery store, they sell based on price. That's true. I mean, when you're walking through the grocery store, what's on sale? What can I do? There's really no there definitely is no education in the store. So there's nobody telling you which one's better than the other. So what they do is put the cheapest ingredients in there so that they can then lower the price as low as they can go. That ends up being plant-based products. That's the cheapest form. It's for us as well.
Sure.
And so that's what they go on. When you go into a more protein or a meat-based product, the price does go up. That's just the name of the game.
Correct.
And that's why you'll see a little more expensive costs on these foods. But realize you're going to feed less. So I have seen in general a good quality food is going to be about double that of your really low end foods. I won't even say the brands, but you go to a grocery store or a mart and you're going to find them.
Right.
Know that you're going to feed though half as much. So right now you're breaking even. You're not spending any more on the dog food or the cat food for that matter. You're going to feed less, and then we said it already once in the you're going to now pick up less poop as a result because they're going to poop less as well. But I think then the other benefit,
cost you less in the long run.
It's going to cost you less
and a better quality life for your pet,
right?
Which is what you want.
It's eating a complete meal, and that's what CANIDAE's got. And you've got all these different versions of it. Whether your dog has some allergies and you're trying to limit that, okay, go to the limited.
Don't forget about cat either, but we do have that too.
And do you have all these lines in cat as well?
We do. We don't have the new raw coated. It's not available on a cat yet, but we do have the limited ingredients.
Gotta think. Well, here I was feeding that to my cat as well. The raw diet. I was sprinkling it over. He did have prescription food, and Gilbert has passed just a short few months ago. So that was tragic, but he was 18 years old. He had a really good life. So good to see there. We should be getting those in our store then. We got to talk with Coy, our general manager, about that. Get the cat stuff in there.
We can't forget the cats. There are a lot of cats out there.
There is twice as many cats. Last time I checked with Jerry, he said there was twice as many cats as there were dogs.
Anything that you say is right, Ron.
So, all right, awesome. How much time do we have, Jerry?
About 4 minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay. Like any parting words there, Mike?
Yeah, well, just a couple things, I guess. I just, again, our plant or our cookery where everything is made and packaged is in Brownwood, Texas. We have a farm in Cheney, Kansas, just outside of Wichita, that we're actually growing some of our own ingredients. We have some greenhouses there, and we're growing more and more there. We have over the past few years. So that's something different about our company.
What did they growing in?
Well, I mean, things that can't be grown outside in the state of Kansas. But I think they're doing parsley, sage, tomatoes, lots of tomatoes in there, that kind of thing.
That's interesting. I didn't even thought about the greenhouse aspect of things. So the whole locally grown. Actually, that's we're actually looking at the greenhouse
that's actually
here. And then anybody that wants to see, I've been putting up pictures and stuff. We if you can go to our Facebook, Petland Iowa City Facebook, you'll see a 360 video there, or go to YouTube. Search either way, PAWSitively Petland Radio Show, and you're going to see the pictures and stuff that we've been looking at while we were on air here. But I interrupted you again.
Well, that's all right. Yeah, well, and like you just said there, I mean, if you do go to our website, CANIDAE.com, you can see videos on the farm and what we're doing there, some kind of innovative ways of growing things and changing it up, and it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then also see things about the food. There's all kinds of stuff on the website, but also your customers can download a coupon and bring it into the store. So those are always good.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I got to go check that out.
And we are part of that frequent buyer program you were talking about also for you. So
buy 10 get one free. Good. We track it for you. No hassles
no
there.
Hassles. That's nice. And then in August we got a promo coming up. Buy any bag of CANIDAE dog food and get a from that company you were talking about, Primal. Get a frozen bone broth or the
we've got that in the store right now,
or the goat's milk. I think it's your choice of one of those two.
Oh, did you link up with Primal on this then? Oh, that's very cool.
Cross promotions to kind of help you guys. We're working together to help you. So.
Okay, so that's their freeze dried product, and then if you haven't
actually that's their frozen the bone broth and the goat's milk.
That's right. I'm sorry, you did say bone broth, which I had Jerry. this one, this one's for
every
for
single
real.
time you say my name.
Have you ever heard of bone broth? Like, it's a trend for people. I didn't even know this. Primal came in and said, you need to have bone broth for the dogs. And I'm like, that sounds right. And then they were talking about it. Well, you already have it for people. I'm like, I didn't know this.
I did not know this.
Yeah,
either.
It's supposedly really good for you.
Anything you say, Ron, is right.
So, all right. So that's coming up here in just a couple of days, August.
Correct.
We're going to have that. Oh, that's going to be very cool. Because then the frozen goat's milk, again, whenever I do that, if dog or cat was feeling a little under the weather, or it was a birthday, or I just wanted to spoil them a little bit, I give them a little bit of goat's milk. Yeah. And again, they look up at you and give you a big smile. Yeah. And you're like, oh, wow, you really like this stuff. So that'll be a good promo there. Anything else?
Good deal. No, I mean, when you just said that did make me think of something else. I know there's a lot of dogs out there with, either they feel like they're or they are overweight, or issues like that, but just remember, we're the ones feeding them. They're not. They're either giving them table scraps or too many treats, or that's usually the issue. But if you have them on a good quality food, they shouldn't be overweight,
right?
Unless there's
and you can control that. We've talked about that on the air a lot, as well as measuring how much. If your dog is overweight or your cat's overweight and you're free feeding, you got to go to controlled feeding at that point. Right. I use a measuring cup every single morning. I'm giving them a specific amount with just a little scoop that I put into their bowl. If I notice Callie or Dachshund getting a little plumpy, I cut back so little they don't even know it. Sure. And then I see Callie shrink back over the next week. If they're really, really overweight, this is more of a 9-month process. But once you get them into control, I just monitor their weight on a weekly basis and say, hey, I noticed that when they go to a friend's house for the weekend or whatever, when we're doing some traveling, they'll always come back a little plumpy. And I go, good. Right. They had their little vacation. They ate well and all that kind of stuff. And that's okay. And then I just cut back just a little bit. They don't even know there was less in the cup, and life is beautiful. So good point there.
All good.
Mike, thanks for stopping in. Compelling conversation. And Ron, what's going over on at Petland once again?
So Petland, Iowa City, our hours of operation: Sunday noon until 6, Monday through Saturday we're open from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m. But Sundays noon until 6. Come in, take advantage of our buy 10, get one free over time. We check it for you on all of our dog and cat food. And we got that in other departments as well. So make sure you check those out. $5 nail trim. Can't beat that. Oh, yes, you can. If you got your dog, cat from Petland, we will do that nail trim for free. No appointments necessary. Just come on in. If you didn't, hey, you can't beat the $5 nail trim. So take advantage of that. And then we have just all that trade show stuff coming in. Just to preview what we'll probably do it next week is a lot of the new toys and stuff that are coming in. We've got a lot of alternative bones like ostrich, crocodile, things like that that you're going to see in our store. So fun stuff that's coming in. And then hemp. I'm telling you, I don't quite get this yet. I'm still one of those that are saying, what's all this about? But I'm getting educated on it. We have a full line of hemp products. Now, this isn't the stuff that gets anybody high. This is the stuff that soothes you, makes you feel better, and all comforts and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into that in a future show, but know that that's all coming up and coming into the Petland.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Mike. Positively Petland show Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock on Iowa City's news and sports station, 800 KXIC and KXIC.com.
Thanks.